Welcome to Where Her Heart Speaks, a show designed to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also to help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine begins now.
Hi there, it's Coach Catherine. Do you feel like you're at your wit's end when it comes to stress? Listen, you're not alone. The American Psychological Association reports that 7 in 10 adults have experienced physical and mental health problems as a result of stress. And while there are many ways to reduce stress, I find the best way is to regulate your nervous system. And this is why I've created a powerful infographic to help you do just that. In just 3 minutes or less, you can reduce your stress using the 5 strategies listed in my free infographic. Get your copy now at bit.ly/5 ways to de-stress. That's bit.ly/5 WAYS 2 Destress DESTRESS. Get your copy today so you can start releasing stress now. Welcome and welcome back. I'm Catherine James, international speaker, best-selling author, trauma-informed coach, and your host for this show, Where Her Heart Speaks. I missed you all last week, and I want to say that this topic and where I'm covering or coming from this week is really fresh for me personally, and I am choosing to walk through this anyway because in my being, I grieve daily for women who are the woman I used to be. The woman who is overwhelmed and tired. The woman who feels unsupported and desperately searches for a way out. Like, I grieve for her. The woman who knows nothing other than sucking it up, being strong and pushing through. That woman, I grieve for her. The woman who has no time to deal with emotions, so she just continually pushes them aside or pushes them down. Her. Every single day, I feel for her. And I want to say that if you're that woman, every single day, I feel for you. And I understand. Now, before I go any further, let me just say that today's conversation may be a little emotionally disruptive for you. And as always, I want to remind you to take care of yourself. If you find that the topic is too uncomfortable, please discontinue listening. If you want to pause and return after a moment, as always, I'll share an exercise that you can just pause and use. What you can do is take a moment to do some heart breathing. And you do this by placing your hand or hands on your heart. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze, whichever is most comfortable for you. And imagine each inhale and each exhale going directly in and out of your heart. Try to inhale to a count of 5 and then exhale to a count of 5 while keeping your hands over your heart and imagining your breath flowing through your heart. You'll want to repeat this, your count of 5, inhale and exhale. You'll want to repeat that 5 times. 5 times consecutively. And this is just an easy regulation technique that you can use whenever you feel uncomfortable. You can use it anytime and anywhere. So I love it. You don't have to wait until you're just feeling uncomfortable. You can use it just to keep your nervous system or get your nervous system used to being in a regulated state. So this week's topic, we're talking about life being hard. The past few months have been really hard for me. I've supported a friend who suddenly and unexpectedly lost her husband. I've attempted to support someone dear to me as I myself grieved at the sudden loss of a precious soul that most would say was way too young to leave here. I've grappled with this loss and wondered about her purpose, only to find myself certain that she lived it out in less than the 2 years that she was here on this earth. I've supported others as they've walked through their various trials, be it relationship issues, insecurities, or feelings of hopelessness. I have been in the trenches with those close to me as well as my clients. And when I'm working, I recognize that I have to get into the trenches with my client. Most times, going in the trenches with family members and those that I love, close friends, just happens automatically. There has not been a season where they have been or come, the need has come as frequently as it has of late. But because I know my calling and what I've been placed here to do and the work that I do with my clients, I'm always intentional about practicing regulation techniques daily to ensure that I'm okay. I'm okay through it all, and to ensure that I can support those who have trusted me to be there to support them. And I want to say, no matter how hard you try to ensure you're okay, there are some things that will still rock you to your core, no matter how regulated you are. Like, the thing about being regulated is you are able to rebound a lot quicker, but it does not exempt you from experiencing the heart of life. And that's where I was last week. So for those of you who noticed that we played a rerun on the show last week, thank you for noticing. And thank you for coming back this week. To those of you that reached out to make sure you hadn't missed the show, thank you. I appreciate all of you. And again, we're talking about when life gets hard. And to take that a little further, when life is hard and you're reaching empty. That was my story. Life was really hard for me last week. And part of what happened as we were memorializing one life, I had absolutely no idea that another life was slipping away from me. And as life would have it, that was my reality. For those of you that know me, have known me, I'm not really a dog person. Now, we've had dogs for the sake of, the kids, and my husband likes dogs. I'm not really a dog person, but 6 months ago, I will say abruptly, got a new puppy. And I say abruptly because we didn't plan. We were making a decision about something else and couldn't decide on which dogs, and we ended up getting more than one. So I abruptly got a new puppy. That's another story for another day. One day, I'm going to talk about the cost of yes. But we got this puppy, and initially I really and honestly had a bit of an attitude about having this puppy because for years I said no to another dog. Like I said, we've had dogs in the past while the kids were growing up, and we've lost dogs. Not only have we lost dogs, I realize that they are a lot of work. And at this point in my life, this stage in my life, I really didn't want to have that responsibility. So for me to have a puppy, it could not have shown up in any other way but for an abrupt decision. So I had an attitude. I had an attitude about having this puppy. But as I moved out of my emotional brain and into my rational brain, I thought, this is going to be a huge dog. It was a Rottie, and his parents were huge. So I thought, he's going to be huge, and I need to get ahead of this. I need to get a handle on him before he gets too big for me to manage. So I thought, you better start training him now. And before I knew it, I was all in. And I'm just going to ask, where are my overachievers? Like, you do nothing half-heartedly. So I was careful. I was careful about selecting his name, deciding on Kauai, which means peace and calm. I changed my routine so that I could ensure that he was having an adequate amount of time being spent with him, and so that I can ensure we were actually training every single day. And before I knew it, just like that, he was my pup and I was his human. And like I believed, he grew quickly. He grew quickly. But fortunately, he also learned quickly. He learned his commands just as fast. This dog, Kauai, I call him my pup, was beautiful inside and out. Like, he listened well. He wasn't like a lot of puppies, those we see on social media. He did not tear up anything. And for me, he was ideal. He loved his humans, and he loved everyone that walked through our front door. He was just a beautiful being. And I had come to love him. And I did not imagine my life without him. And as I said, life gets hard. Life gets hard. After returning home from the memorial service, I saw that he had not eaten. And I grew concerned because one thing that I was sure of is that he would eat his food. He loved to eat. And the next morning, I took one look at him and I knew that he was sick. We rushed him to the hospital. He stayed overnight. He came home the next morning. And I saw that he was okay. But as the hours passed, I saw that his health was slowly declining. And over the next 48 hours, I'm going to say I slept maybe 4. I frantically searched for solutions. I tried everything to get him to eat. I tried everything to get him to take his medication. And I found myself cleaning up after him nonstop. So Wednesday morning comes, and I knew it was time for him to go back to the doctor. Where he was, it was out of my control. It was no longer about me hoping he would recover or that I could keep him comfortable enough to will him back to life. So we took him back to the vet. And about after 20 minutes after we left, we received a call advising that he had taken his last breath. And I'm going to say it's still hard for me to believe that my pup is gone. Now, as I was going through this process and going back to last week's episode, there was a part of me, the old me, that showed up and was trying to figure out if there was a way that I could still do the podcast, if there's a way that I could still deliver a message on the radio show. And I like to say, as I tell you, I'm still recovering. I'm still recovering from overachieveritis. I've come a long ways, but I'm still recovering. And because of that, I did. I thought about it once. I thought about it a few more times. Like, how could I swing it? And I knew that I was not in a frame of mind to bring any type of logical or structured message. And I was not in a place where I felt comfortable leaving my dog. So fortunately, the new me stepped in and basically just said, knock it off. Knock it off. Let me tell you, I can appreciate the new me so much. So much. And today, as I continue to process and accept accept the loss of 2 lives, yesterday I stood and I just took a look at things and realizing that I'm nearing empty. I receive more unwelcoming news, and I was hurt by the actions of someone that I love, like more than words can express. And again, I knew before those things happened that I was reaching empty. And I also reflected as I sat one morning just in gratitude because I recognized my state. Listen, there was a time when I was totally unaware when I was near empty. And then there was another time when I was aware, but I totally ignored my state. And now I get to recognize it. Now I am grateful because I get to recognize it and I get to choose to take care of me. And I'm going to say in my commitment to taking care of me, I don't think I'll be much longer. Maybe I'll start just spitting it out, but I don't think. But I'm grateful because there was a time where I was oblivious. And that's no more. So as we talk about life being hard and we're nearing empty, we're reaching empty, I want to encourage you and remind you of what's in you. What I know from working with hundreds of professional women is that most professional women have far too much on their plates. They have far too much on their plates as they attempt to navigate the complexities of both their professional and personal lives. And when you've come to accept near empty as your norm, and when you willingly live life near empty, you willingly live life near empty. Like that can be natural. That can feel so natural that all we see in life is the hard. When you come to that place where living near empty feels normal, seeing the hard, only the hard, seems natural. And I remember years ago listening to Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he was teaching on a message. And I don't remember what the message was. I think it may have been about life, but at some point, I remember he paused and he said, "It's just life." Now, that was more than 20 years ago. And when life gets hard, I can still hear him saying, "It's just life. It's just life." And since then, I've come to know that everything I go through is actually for me. It's life. Everything that happens to us is for us. And many times we default to the notion that things are happening to us. Like that puts us in a victim state. That puts us in a space like we have no control over the things that are occurring in our lives. But what if we consciously adopted a mindset that things are happening for us? There's a different energy underneath that feels so much better. It feels like somebody's on my team. It feels like somebody's looking out for me. It feels like somebody's prepping me. Difficult and hard situations are a normal part of life. And they can offer valuable lessons. They can be opportunities for growth. And ultimately, they can make you stronger and more resilient. I believe they come to equip us for what we'll face in the future. Like that's our preparation. They are truly happening for you, for us. The hards of life are happening for us. Listen, I have had so many aha moments since last week. I've been shown areas in my life where I need to make change. I have a greater appreciation for myself and those around me. Listen, I thought I had an appreciation before, but when you see two lives just snatched away in a moment, something changes. Something changes. Like this is something that we know. We know this intellectually. But when you experience it, when you get it, when it hits you in your core, when it hits you in your body, something changes. I feel like my love for self elevated. My love for others elevated. And I want to say before I close, because I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not trying to be long today. I want to share a few things that I've done, I'm doing to move from where I was last week, which for a couple of days I was in shutdown mode, to where I am now, where I get to shift back and forth between a fight or flight response and social engagement. And this is just a few tips to help you if you find that you are in a space where you're feeling that life is hard and you are reaching empty. So one of the things I did is I allowed myself to feel the pain. Like too often we suppress in hopes of just pushing by. But what I found and what I know, not just from my learning, but from studies, that usually causes us to break down or spiral out of control at a time that we would least desire, at the most inappropriate time. So I allowed myself to feel the pain, and then I also focused on the joy. I realized that I got to experience moments of joy that I would have never otherwise experienced had I not encountered those two souls. So rather than looking at the loss, I chose to also look at the joy. Another thing I did was I took my cape off. I took my cape off. I didn't have to be there for anybody. I didn't have to run to anyone's rescue. I didn't have to be the savior. I remember one day I sat and I did nothing all day long. I was completely okay with letting everyone handle their life as I chose to handle mine in whatever manner that looked like. Another thing I did was I allowed myself to be vulnerable. I shared with others how I was feeling. I allowed others to support me. And let me tell you, this or that is still something that's very difficult for me. But I allowed others to support me. And I also did and continue to do various regulation techniques daily and throughout the day. I am consciously working on regulating, keeping my nervous system regulated so that I don't fall into any stories. I don't allow my mind to begin to create any stories and cause emotions to go haywire. So just keeping my nervous system regulated. And then I also kept and I continue leaning on my foundation, leaning on my faith. The book that I live by says all things happen for the good of them who love the Lord. All things. And I have to hang on to that. Even when those things don't feel good to me, even when those things don't happen the way that I think they should happen or thought they should have happened, even when they are not congruent with my desires, I have to believe that all things happen for the good of those who love the Lord. So it's happening for my good. The book that I live by says, "For he who has promised is faithful, and those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." I have to stand on my foundation. I go back to my faith at all times, especially during the hard times. So I don't know what your foundation is, but I encourage you to stand on your foundation. Stand on your foundation. Not just during the hard times, but especially during the hard times. Because during the hard times, our survival system can create defense mechanisms or cause us to default back into our defense mechanisms that may not otherwise serve us. Our survival brain goes into protection mode. And we will begin to have stories unconsciously created so that they are congruent with the fear, the hurt, whatever it is, the emotion that we're feeling. But when, again, you keep your nervous system regulated and you stand on your foundation, you're able to bypass some of those primitive survival responses. So I want to say to you, what I know is that you've already walked through some hards in life. And yet, you're still walking. You've shown yourself and others that you're capable of overcoming difficult situations. Like whatever you're going through right now, it may be different than whatever it was before. But you are capable of moving through. And I would say you're even more capable because that old thing prepped you. That old thing gave you a greater strength. That old thing gave you more knowledge. It prepped you to move through this thing. So I invite you to trust that which is within you. Draw upon your strengths. Draw upon your strengths and know with everything in you that as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you shift your focus, you will get through this thing also. I know that life gets hard. Let me tell you, I said, these past couple of months, it's been hard. I know that life gets hard. And I'll say for some people, it seems that the hard comes more frequently than it does for others. And without taking anything away from it, but putting it in perspective, it's just life doing life. But the beauty of life is that as human beings, we get to choose. We get to choose where we will focus. And I'd say you can choose. You can choose to focus on the downs, or you can choose to focus on the ups. You can choose to focus on the disappointments, or you can choose to focus on the lessons. You can choose to focus on the hard, or you can choose to focus on the joy. I pray that you will choose to focus on the latter. And if you're in the crux of your heart and there is anything that I can do to support you during this time, please do not hesitate to reach out. If you need an ear, as I did yesterday, if you need resources or coaching support, know that I'm here. And I just invite you to go to www.calendly.com/Coach Catherine and select the pro bono option. My prayer for you this week is that you will give yourself permission to give you what you need and that you will choose to focus on the latter. As I close, I want to remind you that in this life, we get to choose. Choose to listen to the place from where your heart speaks, and choose to live a sensational life. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening to Where Her Heart Speaks with Coach Catherine, where Catherine aims to challenge and disrupt ineffective thoughts and behaviors to help you not only embody peace, joy, calm, and certainty, but also help you live the life you've always dreamed of living. Follow Catherine on Facebook and Instagram at I Am Catherine James, and visit www.catherinejames.com. Remember, to live the life of your dreams, you must go within and return to the place where your heart speaks.